One thing you all have in common is a lack of experience in elected office. So why should Arkansans trust you to be the leader of our state based on your resume? Ms. Sanders, to you first.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things and one of the most important qualifications of a leader is being prepared for things that you have no idea are coming your way. Anybody can talk about specific policies and the things that they want to do, but the real test of a leader is when they're challenged with things that they never see coming. I've been tested at the highest level of government, under the most intense criticism you can possibly imagine, and never once backing down from who I am or what I believe, but always rising to the moment, facing every challenge head on, never changing who I am or what I believe in, and knowing exactly who I am and not looking to the critics to define me. I never needed validation from the room because I had a creator who had already given me that and set me on a path. I know I'm prepared to step in on day one and be both the fighter and the leader that our state needs, frankly, at a time I think we need it the very most.
Mr. Jones, 1 minute.
The governor's position is certainly multiple role. It has multiple roles. One of those key roles is an executive. I am the only candidate on the stage who's run multiple multi-million-dollar organizations. One has to know how to set budgets, how to manage individuals, how to set a vision, and then how to set a plan to realize that vision. But the reality is, even with plans and even with bringing folks together, and even with understanding the challenges, and as an engineer, I certainly know how to understand challenges and problems, what Arkansas needs right now, as I've traveled the state and heard from Arkansans, is not only someone who has the plans, but someone who knows how to execute those plans and has done it before. And I did it when I ran the Arkansas Regional Innovation Hub. And key and fundamental to all of this, what I've heard from all Arkansans is that we need a leader who has compassion, who actually will work for all Arkansans, no matter who you are, no matter what your background, no matter what your party affiliation and where you come from. And as governor, I will certainly do that every single day in the office.
Mr. Harrington, 1 minute.
Excuse me. The candidates on stage here, Dr. Jones and Ms. Huckabee Sanders, have wonderful resumes. I don't have that type of resume. What I do have is a lifetime of serving people, of traveling to other countries and learning their language and understanding their culture, understanding who they are, to bring a message to them and help them change their life. I spend time working with the least. I've managed people before, and there's one thing I want to say, is that in leadership it takes a milieu of different skills. Not only do you have to be strong, but you have to have compassion. Be firm, fair, and consistent. And one thing I want to finish with is, I started my candidacy as a nobody. And here I am standing beside these three wonderful people right now on this one thing, running for the message of peace in our country. And I believe what we need right now is a peacemaker. And I'll promise you, I will do my best to bring peace here in Arkansas.
Got to go back, Mr. Harrington. Ms. Sanders, you have 30.
Arkansas needs a balance. We need someone who is both capable of fighting back against an out-of-control federal government that is insistent on taking over the lives of every citizen across the country. I know I'm capable of fighting back against the radical left and the crazy bad ideas coming out of Washington, because I've been doing it for the last several years and winning. But we also need a leader, someone who's not only capable of fighting back against good policy, but also capable of leading our state forward with heart and compassion and implementing good policy. I know I'm prepared to step in and be both the fighter and the leader that we need on day one.
Got to call time. Mr. Jones, you have 30.
Arkansans have a history of electing pragmatic governors. Governors who are willing to show up, listen, engage, and develop real plans that actually make a difference in people's lives. And as governor, I will certainly wake up every day and do that. We need a governor who is really focused on problem solving and not the extremism that I'm hearing.
Mr. Harrington, 30 seconds.
I was trying to get into it a little bit, describing my campaign when I first started to run for the U.S. Senate. Started with just a treasurer and myself, and we almost raised $100,000 in that race right there. What I want people to see about me is that I started with nothing, and I'm trying to do the best that I can running this professional campaign. And if you see somebody that's doing well with nothing, I wonder what type of governor that would be whenever it comes to respect to the people's money.